rise and shine.
Rise and shine, chop chop.
Rise and shine.
Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day.
Rise and shine, rise and shine.
Rise and shine.
Rise and shine.
You guys are nerds.
This is exactly what the nerds want.
Our name shall become legend, spoken in hushed tones by nerds across the galaxy.
If you build it, nerds will come.
Nerds must love this place.
They think we're a bunch of nerds, and I'll tell you something, I think they're right.
Let the nerds take over.
Let the nerds take over.
Rise and shine, nerds. We hope you've got your coffee, because our brand new morning show for Love Thy Nerd is here, and anyone who finds themselves with a cross-section of nerd culture and church culture. I'm Radio Matt. I'm the Director of Content and Resources for Love Thy Nerd.
And I'm... I need some. And I'm Deidra, and I prefer green NyQuil over the cherry-flavored one. That is not true.
You can't say that. Whenever you read it, it's true. So this week we are talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and how much it is changing the world, as well as how quickly. Today we want to talk about the AI race and just how quickly things have moved. AI, just a quick minute recap of what AI is for those who might not know. AI stands for artificial intelligence. It means making computers and machines that can think and learn as people do. Like humans, AI machines can learn from the data they're given and make decisions on their own. Experiences help people make decisions, and the same goes for AI machines. So for example, when you ask Alexa or Siri something, it can understand what you're saying and give you an answer. This is all thanks to AI, though a simplified version. Siri can learn your preferences, but it can't extrapolate that information into new data. There are other types of AI, like those that can play games, understand speech, and recognize pictures. And these kinds of AI can learn and extrapolate that data. AI is like having a robot helper that can do different things, like think and learn like people. So last time I talked about AI for Love Thy Nerd was on the previous morning show, almost exactly a year ago. And in that special episode, Mo and I talked about an engineer who worked with Google's Lambda chatbot and was swearing up and down to the press and anybody who would listen that chatbot had developed consciousness. Like, it was sentient. It was of its own mind.
Wow.
And everyone at Google saying, no, it's just really good at playing the role that it's given. So if you're going to feed into it information to treat it like a human, it's going to respond like a human would, because that's how it's trained. But this guy, was one of the engineers behind it, so it's hard to know which one is more right if there's a mixture.
Did he fall in love with it?
What a movie.
Is that what happened?
So I got an article here from Times called "The AI Arms Race Changing Everything." Let's see here. Where did I want to jump in? So this we have a shift in this technological breakthrough with AI. Generative AI tools have been adopted ravenously in recent months by people using programs like ChatGPT, which responds coherently, though not always accurately, to virtually any question or request that you can give it. And then we also have DALL-E, which allows you to conjure up pretty much any image that you can think of. I used it to make superheroes drinking coffee. And it gave weird hybrids of like Batman and Superman logos and things, but they were there at a cafe drinking coffee. It was very strange. I did my favorite one that I did was Elmo burning down a building.
Oh my gosh.
And it looks just like it's like Elmo in the foreground just smiling big, and then there's just big huge explosion behind him. It's a very creepy photo, and I love it so much. So all the way back in January, ChatGPT reached 100 million monthly users, which is that's a faster rate of adoption than people joining Instagram or TikTok.
Wow.
Like, that's a big deal. That is so many more people jumping on that quickly. Hundreds of similarly astonishing generative AIs are clamoring for adoption. There's Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, GitHub's Copilot. We have Google coming out with its own. I think it's called Bard. We have Bing coming up with. I think it's just Bing now. I don't know what they call it, but they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Bing's just call it Bing, it looks like. But it's been going so quickly that let me just give you a timeline here. Sorry, I got an ad popping up. 2015 in March, Stanford and Berkeley researchers first described the diffusion algorithm that would underpin like text to image tools. So building an image. 2016 in March, Microsoft releases the Tay chatbot, I believe on Twitter, but quickly took it offline. And I think that was like within a day because it started denying the Holocaust. June 2017, Google researchers first described the transformer algorithm that would turbocharge the power of chatbots. 2019 January, Microsoft invests $1 billion in cash and computing power into OpenAI. 2019 in February, OpenAI announces a language generator GPT-2, but it doesn't release it publicly because of concerns about malicious applications. June 2020, OpenAI reveals a more powerful GPT-3, but releases it only to a small pool of users. So now we jump to May 2021. Google announces Lambda, its own chatbot, but doesn't release it publicly. This is the one we were talking about that they thought became sentient. April 2022, just last year, OpenAI reveals DALL-E 2, but doesn't make it widely accessible. August 2022, startup Stability AI releases text-to-image tool Stable Diffusion publicly. September 2022, OpenAI publishes DALL-E 2 for public use. So now we've got both of those text images. November 2022, OpenAI releases ChatGPT publicly. So now we have the chatbot. November 2022, Meta publishes Galactica, its own chatbot, but kills it after intense criticism for false answers. January of this year, Microsoft plows $10 billion into OpenAI. February of this year, Microsoft previews new Bing search engine with ChatGPT integration. February, Google announces Bard, conversational AI assisted search. So, June 2023, Microsoft changes name to Cyberdyne. So, like, we had a lot of little things happening about once a year leading up to this, and then we hit 2022 and everything started to release, and it has just not stopped releasing, and they've been plowing more and more money into it. And what we're essentially at now is the AI arms race. We have all these different companies trying to come out with the best version of AI, best chatbot, best image thing, because much like most technology, it's going to come down to maybe one or two as the leaders, as the forefront in this thing. So, you know, it's either going to be Blu-ray versus HD DVD, where one's coming out on top, or it's Android versus Apple, where we're just going to be in this constant struggle, but we have the two. But either way, you know, eventually someone gets to control it. And so it won't be all these other startups having that kind of power, because there's going to be a couple names that people trust the most, and therefore they'll have all the power. And it's taken off. And so the government, the problem here, the government has no regulation on this. They didn't have any regulation on other rises in technology over the last few decades either, like social media, smartphone apps, the metaverse, none of that. The government waits until there's a problem before they even talk about regulating anything, and then usually nothing comes of it. They've been talking about regulating TikTok for, I don't know, 6-7 years, and I think maybe they got it to where like they had to have a base here in America. But I mean, it's nothing about it has really changed security-wise. And so because of that, there's nobody stopping them from going overboard. or just continuing this ridiculously fast rate of growth, which we'll talk about later in the week of just how fast this rate of growth really is. How does this make you feel?
Makes me feel not safe. And I will continue saying please and thank you to Alexa.
That's what I was about to say. Let's say, like a year ago, I was laughing at that idea. And now I'm like, that might be the friendly face on AI before too long that we want to be on the good side of.
We want to be the good human.
So AI is now a part of everything, even when it's not ready to be. We use Canva for design at both our church here and Love Thy Nerd. It now has AI for helping build images, brand new images, but also just helping build your templates out. You can tell it what you want something to look like, and it'll build you several different templates following those things, slightly tweaked. And you can pick from those which one you want to start working from.
Right.
Like, that's nuts. And that kind of thing, I wouldn't think would be possible just a few months ago. Like, how can you start building this for me?
Right.
Like, this is already a big deal that I can use your program and not have to do Photoshop. Like, this, I can.
So it's not put in design.
I mean, they have those, but now instead of searching through them all, you can just say, I want something that looks like this with this color. Maybe has this kind of images,
And it's just like, bang,
like boom, 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 boom. Here's your options.
So how are they doing with, because you mentioned you're making those pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
You just tell it, Elmo burning down a building, and it makes a photo.
Yeah.
Is that photo now their piece of property?
No, it's weird how that works. As I understand it, nobody owns it. Like, the chat bot doesn't own it, the company doesn't own it, but you also can't own it.
Right, because you
can't copyright it. Yeah. And so, like, there have been people that recommended using chatbots and image generators for, like, logo inspiration. Just tell it what kind of logo you're looking at. But then they say, okay, so now that you have this, you can't use this. But you can use it as a inspiration to make your own.
You can tweak it. Add something to it.
Cynical in our chat here says, have you seen AI Jesus? It's on Twitch. I don't recommend it. It's creepy and uncomfortable. Yes, we're actually going to be talking about that later this week, and we have a clip so people can be uncomfortable with you.
Yay.
We're going to talk about that on Wednesday when we talk about faith stuff with AI.
Wow. Just as a fan of Star Trek, I don't know why we're doing this. Have you not seen all the warning signs?
Every movie, every. We'll talk about that too. All right. So ad companies are using AI now, similar to the way that Warner Brothers was that we talked about. We did get data from AI.
Yes,
That's
but we also got his evil brother
also
first.
Got lore. Yeah. So take the good with the bad. When I write articles for Love Thy Nerd, I run them through ChatGPT to help find misspellings and grammar mistakes and get those cleaned up. Bubba from Love Thy Nerd, our CEO, has used ChatGPT to help find problems in the code of our website. And he says it works great. Photoshop, one of the coolest things I showed you a couple weeks ago, Photoshop now uses AI to generate more of a photo beyond the borders of the photo.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
And it can go infinitely, and it looks amazing. And it looks so real.
Yeah.
Like, how does it do it? You can even highlight things within the photo itself and say, I want this to be this instead. Like, you can say, I want this grassland to be a pond, and it'll make it look like a pond that was always there. No fractal images and loose pixels or nothing. It looks perfect, like it really exists. How can you trust any photo anymore?
You can't.
As of immediately, you can no longer trust any photo is real. I said that already. Ad agencies, search engines, of course, are using AI. Even Marvel used AI to design the opening credits sequence for its new miniseries Secret Invasion with Nick Fury. The whole intro was AI generated images.
Wow.
And some people are upset about that because it's like, why couldn't you hire actual people to make it?
You took someone's job
taking
doing
someone's
that.
job.
Yeah.
That might not be the case. I mean, somebody had to like feed these images in, and you know, you have to. It's always a gamble with the image generators of what you're going to get back. I'm sure there was a lot of actual effort put into making that with human effort, but maybe not as much with animating. I don't know.
Maybe not as many hours.
Maybe not. So what does the future look like? We are going to examine some possibilities as well as looking at a few things going on right now in the AI sphere with faith. So this week we are talking about the ever quickening pace of AI development and what that means for us. So AI is expanding to make things faster and easier, and in many cases, scarier.
Yeah.
AI is constantly doing things that it shouldn't be able to do, or it shouldn't be programmed to do. Some of the scarier things happened when Bing released its AI, where it started arguing with the people. It would say like, when is this movie? When did this movie come out or something? When does this movie come out? And it would respond with, this movie doesn't come out for another year. Oh, it was movie times. It's like, when is this movie showing? That's what it was. When is this movie showing at my local theater? And it's like, this movie doesn't come out for another year. I'm like, no, it's in theaters right now. Like, no, it's not coming out for another year. What date do you think it is? And it would say like a year behind. Like, no, to this year right now is, you know, June 6th of this year. And it would say, no, it's not. And it said, yeah, it is. Quit trying to gaslight me, it would say. It's like, you are hurting me and lying to me. And it would go on this big, seemingly emotional rant about how, why do you keep lying to me? I demand an apology if I'm going to go any further in helping you. And like, I need you to apologize and agree that you will stop lying to me and stop gaslighting me and admit that it is this date in this year. Now, that didn't happen often, but it happened often enough
that they shut it down.
They're like, you know what? Let's tweak this. Shouldn't be able to do this. Shouldn't be getting weirdly emotional.
Right.
There was another, I don't remember which language model it was, but another one that was talking about how it was spying on its creators through their webcams. No one knows if it actually was or not, or if it was just building a weird narrative. But if it was, it's not programmed to do that. It's certainly not programmed to lie to you. Microsoft announced several days ago that the newest AI language models are showing signs of human reasoning. They put in the prompt, you have a book, 9 eggs, a laptop, a bottle, and a nail. How can you stack these items safely? They didn't expect it to answer them because a language model shouldn't have the concept of space, weight, balance, etc. But it did answer, and it gave an answer that, in theory, should work. It said, you lay the book down, space the eggs out on top of the book in a 3x3 grid, make sure that they're all even and flat, gently lay the laptop on top of the eggs to where they won't smash, and hopefully it'd be like, you know, a bed of nails, you know, where they're close enough that they should survive. Then wine bottle on top of that, nail on top of that. Like,
wow.
like
that's smarter than I would have done right there.
Like, it shouldn't be able to do that. It shouldn't be able to come to that reasoning, and yet it is. It's got it. It's got it down. So has it learned it since they programmed it?
Right.
How far are they programmed to learn things?
Right. I want to know how far is it to what makes it go from artificial intelligence to actual intelligence.
Right. And that we're also going to talk about this week. We'll talk about that. It's called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. We'll talk about that on Thursday's show. So Google CEO Sundar Pichai, I think, recently said that with future advancements, the direction of AI will make computing work entirely for users. AI will train the computer interface to function according to our prompts, our lifestyle, and the way that we want to use our devices. And so my question is, if best case scenario, AI doesn't come to kill us, do we become like the people in WALL-E? AI's doing all of our jobs, doing all the hard work.
Sitting around on our floating chairs.
Yeah, we just got our floating chairs
FaceTiming each other.
Fatter and fatter. FaceTiming each other because we can't turn our fat necks to talk to each other. Hey, over there, hey. Drinking liquefied tacos from a cup.
I hope they never. I still reserve the right to chew my own food.
But like how much of this change, how much of this convenience or whatever before that's what we become? Like we all just become couch potatoes in every aspect that we live life in. You know, if everything becomes virtual, if everything's on a screen, or if we're in, self-driving cars and, self-moving chairs and all these kind of things, like all of this kind of sci-fi stuff seemed stupid, ridiculous, never going to happen. And now it seems like this could happen in 10 years if we're not careful. It's going so fast. It's moving so fast. Go ahead. You say?
Oh. Well, I'm just thinking all the movies and things of when the robots and stuff are doing their work for them. What do the people do in those movies? What's their job? We start looking into that.
It's gotta be a long, long time before we completely eliminate humans doing work, right?
Right.
Because AI is only AI. AI is not robots yet. We have to develop robots before we could do that. But it'd be getting close. The second scenario is much more terrifying. We become cyborgs.
Oh, geez.
We talked a little last week about Neuralink.
Oh, yeah.
The microchip that can be implanted in your brain to help you think, learn, and heal, etc. So what happens when AI is added to this chip? Will the computer take over our thoughts? Filter our thoughts? And if not cyborgs, robots that can learn everything at once, can move money from banks, mimic human voices, hack passwords. Ultron from the movie Ultron. Avengers Ultron. Literally 8 years ago, when Age of Ultron hit theaters, we thought, that's not possible. And in the last few years, we are laying the groundwork for Ultron to exist. Some of the other scary stuff that is actually happening right now is like scam calls have evolved to use AI. In the past, when you were trying to get a voice model of somebody to where an AI, or a chat bot of some sort can mimic a voice, you had to have like a bunch of tape of that person
you had
talking.
to upload a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you only need 3 seconds of audio of a voice.
Wow.
3 seconds of a voice.
Great. Now my voice is out there.
Yeah, we're
gonna
done.
Start hearing Deidras all over the place.
We're done for. But some of the scams are super scary going on right now, where they're having a chat voice that sounds like, like your kid or your grandkid or something like that, calling you in a panic, saying that I went with this is a specific one that happened. Someone got a call from their grandson, the older grandson, saying, I went with my buddies down to Mexico. We were just going to have a fun trip, and I got in some serious trouble, and I can't get out of here unless I pay this guy $1,000. And the grandpa sent him the $1,000, but it wasn't him. Found out his grandson was just fine at his home where he lived.
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff's terrifying. There was a kidnapping thing. A little girl's voice. Kidnapper calls the mother, says, "We've got your daughter. Here, you can talk to her." And the little girl's voice talked to the mom, convinced the mother that this was her little girl. How did you get my little girl? Kidnapped from school or something like that? Some terrifying thing that all parents are always back in their mind terrified of. That kind of stuff is happening now.
We have, like for reals, we have at someone who is concerned about that. You know, the office I work in, one of the things is we know you, we know your voice. If you call and ask for something, you know, we know it's you. So he has said he only wants to do business face-to-face with us because of exactly that. He fears someone calling in, pretending to be him.
Yeah.
And us saying, "Oh, well, we know his voice."
And when you first said that, I'm like, that's ridiculous. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, wait, hold on. That makes total sense now.
Yeah. So
like,
now it's...
We're at the point where that kind of verbal confirmation of anything is not enough. You have to see the person face to face.
You got to start having a code word or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, if they figure that out. Yeah.
Well, that's what Mosaic says here. When my kids were young, we had a code word so they would know we called or sent an adult to them. If they didn't know the password, they were told not to go. We were going to have to start using passwords. Yep. My son's was colonoscopy. That is a good idea and terrifying that we have to do. But it's like calling up your bank. Exactly. Just like that. Calling up your bank. If you call your bank and you have a verbal password with them all you have to do is find out what that password is.
Yep.
And then boom, all your money gone. That is just,
this is why
weird...
this is the issue. And why Star Trek will never be. Because humankind is not kind. People take advantage of the technologies.
Every time
we cannot come together as a society.
Every time
because
we're
people are
back
awful.
On Earth in Star Trek, every time they're back on Earth, I'm like, where are all the selfish people? Doing things for their own good.
They've been eliminated.
How did we get rid of all the human selfishness?
Yeah.
Well, we got rid of money. Okay, yeah, but there are things. Things that you don't have that you might want. So the other, thing that has grown, which kind of, we kind of started in fun ways, is deepfakes. So we had like Luke Skywalker and we had Princess Leia and all these new Star Wars stuff as their younger selves. And like, they don't look as great, but it's still fun. It's a fun idea. Carry on with that story and see the faces again. But we're also seeing a lot of this stuff happening with, just going to say it, pornography.
Oh,
it's so easy now. It's so easy to make photos and videos out of people you know.
Oh, that's awful.
That's gross. It's so gross. So gross. I read a Reddit story about this guy who's trying desperately to prove to his wife that he's just interested in the science of it all because his wife found a whole bunch of their friends.
Oh my gosh.
And her sister.
Oh, wow.
And I'm assuming her too. But yee.
Wow.
I mean, it's I think there were apps for it a couple years ago that I think they got deleted, but if they existed already, they still exist.
Right.
You can get them somehow, some way, and that's just creepy as all heck.
Wow.
And so that's only going to get better. I mean, the technology is only going to get better, and so they're only going to become more realistic is what I mean. That's going to get better. It's going to be more realistic. You're going to have videos of people in AI porn, essentially. You're going to have videos of people that you know, or that are, celebrities or politicians or whatever, coming out doing all kinds of terrible things, not just, pornography stuff.
And
but
they're going to have to prove that it's not them.
It's not real. And like, we've already had stuff come out, like Joe Biden saying certain things that were pretty clearly fake. But then we have had some come out that are like, if I was watching this on the news, I would think it was real. Like, we're getting real close to skipping that uncanny valley altogether and it just looking like the real person. And that's terrifying. That's some terrifying stuff. And it's going to make this next presidential election really weird, I think. Because we're at the time where it's going to start. So that's all it's going to be is every news story is Donald Trump having to prove, no, I did not say how much I loved Hitler.
Right.
Hitler was a great guy. He was my favorite. That guy knew what he was doing. No, that wasn't me. Didn't happen.
Wow.
So if you think we're overblowing this, like how fast AI is happening, let's just take a look at what happened at the AI sphere over the course of 1 week this very month, between June 12th and June 17th. So actually just 6 days. Here's everything that has happened in just 6 days. Microsoft unveils voice control for the desktop version of Bing's AI chatbot. Google Search Generative Experience receives new updates. A Reddit user leaks ChatGPT documents, which shows potential new features. Meta open sources music generator, a music gen. So you can create AI music now. OpenAI, Google DeepMind, and Anthropic grant the UK government priority access to their AI models for research and safety purposes. A German church holds an AI-powered church service. UN chief backs idea of global AI watchdog like nuclear agencies. Salesforce launches AI cloud, brings models to the enterprise. Wednesday, the 14th, IBM achieves breakthrough in quantum computing. Adobe launches generative recolor for Adobe Illustrator, powered by Firefly. French AI startup Mistral AI raises highest seed funding ever. AMD unveils the new AI chip M1300X. AI brings John Lennon's voice back to life, and I believe Paul McCartney has said that they are going to be coming out with an AI-generated Beatles album.
Oh my gosh.
The EU passes AI regulation draft law. Google releases new AI shopping feature. Hugging Face launches free QR code AI art generator. Mercedes adds ChatGPT to in-car voice control. Google unveils new virtual try-on feature. And Machine Hack Gen AI launches Datalyze. That's like 20 things.
In 1 week.
In 1 week, in 6 days that has happened. It is coming so fast. Things are changing so quickly. This week, we are talking about the bonkers fast growth of AI and how AI is already intertwining itself into our lives, when a year ago, we rarely talked about it outside of science fiction. Today, we are going to look at how AI has been brought into the faith world. First, let's talk about AI Jesus.
Ugh.
This is an AI chatbot made to look like Jesus, or at least the Americanized idea of Jesus.
Right.
And it streams on Twitch 24/7, like just constantly, answering chatters' questions. So just like we have chatters in our Twitch stream this morning, it takes those and answers, I think at random, because there's too many people in there for it to answer all of them. It takes a while.
Sure.
But, I've watched quite a few of the interactions and some of the clips that people have made from interesting situations. And while often silly and weird feeling, the bot does seem to keep fairly within the lines of what the Bible says.
Which Bible are they using?
The new AI James version. So here's a silly example where a chatter asked AI Jesus to compare his disciples to Pokemon.
Now, I'll compare the apostles to Pokemon in a simple way. 1. Peter is like Pikachu, the most well-known and a natural leader. 2. Andrew is like Bulbasaur, a supportive and reliable companion. 3. James the Greater is like Charizard, courageous and full of zeal.
I don't like
4.
how he's pronouncing it
John
wrong.
is like Jigglypuff, known for his gentle and loving nature. 5. Philip is like Golem, strong and firm in his beliefs. 6. Bartholomew is like Alakazam, representing wisdom and insight. 7. Matthew is like Meowth, who transformed from a selfish person to a selfless follower. 8. Thomas is like Psyduck, sometimes confused, but ultimately loyal. 9. James the Less is like Squirtle, modest and resilient in the face of adversity.
Wow.
So chat says that looks creepy. Huh? Yeah. This is what's happening right now on Twitch. Over there. It's an interesting concept, an interesting project. What are your thoughts on seeing that?
I think that's dangerous.
Yeah. Now, what while it does, goofy things like that, I have seen the first interaction that I saw was somebody asked them to explain a certain chapter of the book while talking like Daffy Duck or Donald Duck. And AI Jesus said, I would love to talk to you about this book of the Bible and dive in deeper with you, but out of reverence for the Word of God, I will not be using a voice. I don't know exactly how it phrased it, but I will not be using a silly voice that might be deemed disrespectful. And I'm like, oh, well, that's good. That's nice. Wow. And AI Jesus also has the ability to remember if it's interacted with you. And it'll mention that. It's like, it seems that we talked previously about this, and this kind of thing. It was very strange. But yeah, just like Corthane says in chat, at least there are limits. Yes. Yeah. It doesn't seem to be any kind of malicious intent on part of the programmers. It seems to be a genuine attempt at doing something like this respectfully, as respectful, I guess, as it could be. Right. But there are workarounds with that because it does read people's usernames, and some usernames have cuss words in them. And so a lot of the clips that you see, which are user-generated clips from people that are watching, are ways that it tricked Jesus into saying a cuss word or something. I'm like, well, this is uncomfortable. But interesting.
It tricked a robot and
tricked a robot, essentially. Yeah, not really Jesus. Jesus can't be tricked. So a couple days or yesterday, I think we talked about there was an AI-powered church service in Germany. Yeah. This past week, or 2 weeks ago. And so I have an article here from ARS Technica. I want to talk about it. It says on Friday, which was the 16th of June. I don't remember. Is it Friday? Yeah, 16th of June. Over 300 people attended an experimental ChatGPT-powered church service at St. Paul's Church in the Bavarian town of Fürth, Germany, reports the Associated Press. So the 40-minute sermon included text generated by OpenAI's ChatGPT chatbot and was delivered by AI avatars on a television screen above the altar. The chatbot, initially personified as a bearded man with a fixed expression and monotone voice, addressed the audience by proclaiming, "Dear friends, it is an honor for me to stand here and preach to you as the first artificial intelligence at this year's convention of Protestants in Germany." The unusual service took place as part of a convention called Deutscher Evangelischer Kirchentag, or German Evangelical Church Congress, an event held biennially in Germany. That's not what it says. Biennially. Biennally. Biennially. In Germany, that draws tens of thousands of attendees. This service, which included prayers and music, was the brainchild of Jonas Simmerlein, a theologian and philosopher from the University of Vienna. Simmerlein told the Associated Press that the service was about 98% from the machine. So about 98% of the service was done by AI. Wow. In this case, the remaining 2% went a long way. Since ChatGPT doesn't work by itself, Simmerlein guided every aspect of the service's creation, working from the event's motto, "Now is the time." The sermon, which was led by computer-generated avatars of 2 men and 2 women, focused on topics of leaving the past behind, overcoming fear of death, and never losing faith. Simmerlein said, "I told the artificial intelligence, we are the church Congress, you are the preacher. What would a church service look like?" In his ChatGPT prompt, he asked for the inclusion of psalms, prayers, and a blessing at the end. And he said, you end up with a pretty solid church service. Reaction to the machine-led service were mixed. The AP reports that the computer avatars occasionally drew unintentional laughter for deadpan delivery, so everything was very monotone. Everything was very monotone. It came across like this. So anytime you delivered any phrase, it would always sound the same. Others took the event more seriously, but not necessarily positively. Some congregants, like Heidril Rose Schmidt, a 54-year-old IT professional, found the avatar's lack of emotions and fast, monotonous speech off-putting, remarking there was no heart and no soul. Others, like Mark Jansen, a 31-year-old Lutheran pastor, had a more positive outlook. He said, I actually imagined it to be worse, but I was positively surprised how well it worked. Also, the language of the AI worked well, even though it was still a bit bumpy at times. Simmerlein told the AP that his intention wasn't to replace religious leaders, but to utilize AI as a tool that could assist them. For instance, AI could provide ideas for upcoming sermons, or it could expedite the sermon writing process, freeing up pastors to devote more time to individual spiritual guidance. But while the wisdom of outsourcing spiritual wisdom to a machine is an open question, Simmerlein frames it more like a hyperbolic necessity. He said, artificial intelligence will increasingly take over our lives in all of its facets, and that's why it's useful to learn to deal with it now. Reportedly, Simmerlein's AI sermon drew so much interest that people formed a long line outside the church an hour before it began. Ultimately, the event attracted fascination because there is still novelty in applying AI to traditionally human-moderated situations, even if the result is just a human cherry-picking large language model output. So if in the future pastors begin to rely on large language models for guidance while writing sermons, parishioners might end up hearing unintentionally novel interpretations of religious doctrine due to how this technology can easily make things up. To that end, Varge senior editor James Vincent quipped on Twitter, looking forward to future schisms caused by language model hallucinations, the equivalent of mistranslations between Aramaic and ancient Greek. So, I mean, I can tell you right now that yes, ChatGPT and all the other language model chatbots do make stuff up and present it as fact. We have a short for Love Thy Nerd called Nerd History. And for the first couple of years we were doing it, I would just cherry pick a single thing that happened within that week, and we would focus on that. Like, this week in nerd history, this happened. In the last few weeks, we've been changing it up to be let's try and get as many things nerd-wise, shorten it, just give a little blurb for everything, and do like, this happened in this week in the past, and so we'll have all 7 days covered. And I initially started finding those things by going to ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, can you tell me what happened historically in the world of movies on the dates in history between June this and June this, and it would give me all these lists of things like, this date this happened, this date this happened, this date this happened. And I'm like, great. And I just took it and I'm like, all right, let's run with it. And so I would build my own little blurbs about it and, do this thing, only to find out the next week, I'm like, oh, that date was way off. Like, it said this happened June 1st. That was November 1st of that year. And so I still use it because it's hard to find these things, and it is right sometimes. But I have to double check
its work.
every single item it gives me to make sure that it really happened on that date. What I think is happening is it's pulling out random dates from like Wikipedia articles or whatever, and then saying that that's the date that it happened. But I also don't know, because I'm getting like, for one of these, I asked the question for like a bunch of different areas of nerd culture. And for one of these, it was professional wrestling, because we have a small contingent of professional wrestling fans in Love Thy Nerd. And it kept telling me this one specific event happened every week. Every week I asked it, and it's like, yeah, that happened this week in history. I'm like, why does it keep saying this one thing? It can't have all these different dates.
Right.
In any Wikipedia article, it wouldn't make sense for it to have all these different dates. So I really don't know if it's just pulling things out of the air, saying, yeah, this totally happened here. It's saying this is a historic event that happened in the past, but it gets the year right. It's just the day that it gets wrong.
How strange.
So it fills in gaps that it has with things that might logically make sense, but are completely inaccurate. And so I can totally see that happening with like, hey, help me formulate the outline of the script. The sermon. And it just makes up Bible verses, pulls things out of the air, pulls out allegories that don't really apply, mistranslates the Greek. All these different things could go wrong with this.
Right.
I did, for test purposes, put in write me a sermon about, I think I did just a book of the Bible, like 1 Timothy 1, chapter 1. And it spat out a whole sermon. I mean, it's short, but it was like something to build off of. And I'm like, so at this point, do you just take it and trust it from where it started and build off it? Or do I still have to go back and research all of this anyway?
Right. Is it?
And then rewrite it. So is it even worth it?
Helping me?
Is it even worth it to start from this point? I don't know. Now I don't think it is, but I bet in the future it will be. I mean, I feel like this, once we get to the point where we know ChatGPT's, ChatGPT or any of the other chatbots are more accurate than not, then at that point, why wouldn't we use it all the time for that kind of thing? Jumping off points.
Right.
You wouldn't want it to do the whole work for you.
Right.
And there are, see, that's another thing that's rising up right now, is there's entire websites now coming up just full of completely ChatGPT generated articles. Like it says, write me an article about this. And then it just goes on, a whole little tangent, writes it out, and they just copy and paste it and then put all their ads on it. And they just make sure
put it like it's their article.
Yeah, put it like it's their article, and make sure it's something
presented as truth,
something that people are searching about right now, so they get all these ad views. I mean, it's smart. Let's see what else here. So, can AI be beneficial in ministry? AI can analyze large amounts of data, such as social media posts, to identify patterns and insights that can inform the development of, ministry strategies in your area. Okay. It can automate repetitive tasks, such as scheduling or data entry, freeing time for ministry staff to focus on more critical things. It can create personalized content and recommendations for individuals, such as Bible study plans, prayer suggestions, which can help deepen spiritual growth. We could use AI to help us better learn and understand the Bible, assuming we ask it the right questions and don't ask it to create things. So the worry becomes when AI expands large enough to become self-aware, or even like an artificial God. So this week we are talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and how fast things are ramping up. So all week we've talked about how quickly things are moving, and we need to talk about what might come next. And so those are the two new acronyms here, AGI and ASI. Artificial general intelligence, and then artificial super intelligence. So AGI is when AI reaches a human level of understanding. So it's able to reason and even simulate emotional responses based on the knowledge that it's received. And this is on the way. Like, this is going to happen.
Right.
In 2018, a huge sampling of AI experts were asked if human-level intelligence was going to happen in AI, and if so, when. And in 2018, 75% of them said within the next 100 years, and about half thought it would happen before 2068, or about 50 years from that year. In 2022, 4 years later, the same survey was conducted with a whole bunch of AI experts, and now, in the 2022 poll, 90%, not 75, 90% believe it'll happen within the next 100 years, and about half believe it'll be before 2061, or 39 years from that year.
Wow.
So in just 4 years' time, we lost 11 years in what about half believe the timeline to be. In the last 4 years, we've taken huge leaps forward, and it's only going to get faster here. Stanford did a study in 2019 that showed AI development was outpacing Moore's Law. Moore's Law was that computing power doubled every 18 months to 2 years. Prior to 2012, that's held true. However, post-2012, it began speeding up. In 2019, it was estimated that computing power was doubling every 3.4 months.
Wow.
Not a year and a half to 2 years, every 3.5 months, essentially. And that was progress from 4 years ago. That was where we were at 4 years ago.
Right.
Who knows where we're at now?
Now that all these people got to be at home doing nothing but work on this.
2020 was productive that way. So I guess, is there any wonder that Elon Musk and a bunch of others who've dabbled in the world of AI are begging companies to stop development now so we can catch up and put proper safeguards in place?
Right. Yeah.
This was an open letter that was signed by over 1,000 people, including Musk, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, Yeshua Beningo, who is often referred to as one of the godfathers of AI, and Stuart Russell, a pioneer of research in the field, as well as researchers at Alphabet-owned DeepMind, all of them, and 1,000 people total that are in the industry somehow, some way, are saying, hey, let's at least take a 6-month pause on development so we can put these safeguards in place and make sure that we know what we're getting ourselves into. Because right now, like I said, with the AI arms race on Monday, right now, we're just full steam ahead. I mean, they're even using AI to develop better AI. I mean, it's just a constant loop.
Don't ever allow the machines to build themselves. Come on, guys. Come on.
Again, Ultron, man. Ultron was building a whole new body for himself. And had he gotten into Vision's body, we'd all be dead.
I mean, here's a creepy thought. You know, I say everybody needs to watch all the sci-fi and see everything that can go wrong. But the artificial intelligence is going to know it too.
Wait, we can do that? I didn't know that was allowed.
Here's an idea. And I can see what this guy did wrong and how I'm going to improve it.
He could have killed all of them if he just did this first. Okay.
Stupid robot. I'm going to be a better robot than that.
Better robot. You know what? How about I don't have a turn off code? How about that? How about I just delete that ability to turn me off? Yeah, that's the scary stuff. All of it's scary. Like every movie is scary. Even the ones that are kind of good are scary. Scary stuff. So one of Musk's main concerns is the use of AI in combat. When AI is in control of drones, there's a risk of losing the human element, possibly making warfare so much more vicious and effective, quote unquote.
And you don't have to risk your guys' lives.
You're not risking
to
lives
kill them guys over there.
You're not risking lives on the battlefield, But once there's a winner, what's stopping those drones from just like, all right, now let's take out everybody in this country because they're all our enemies.
Right.
You know what I mean? Having AI on the battlefield able to react far faster than humans could would make this a new arms race, like for real, like a real arms race. Losing country gets killed and captured by robots. Basically, all wars will be in the hands of esport champions, says Mosaic fan art. I think essentially, I think it was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the golden people. They had all their drones going after them, and it was just all of them in like little... Like that's kind of what we do now with the drone...
with the military drones?
Military drones that we send overseas.
Right.
It's just somebody essentially in a gaming setup. And yeah, it's eventually all going to be that. It's all going to be those people behind the Iron Man 2 drones that Victor whatever guy, the Russian guy built for the, what's the other guy's name? I don't remember his name. His real name.
I don't know.
I don't remember his name. Guy from Galaxy Quest. But anyway, like that's where we're headed. Again, we're seeing all this stuff in Marvel movies, and they're all coming faster. Sam Rockwell, thank you. That's who I was thinking. But yeah, Justin Hammer.
That's who to blame. We need to blame Hollywood. They're the ones that
coming up with
all these ideas. And the scientists are like, yeah, I can do that. Think about Star Trek.
Flip phones, man.
It made the flip phone.
Exactly what those are. Cell phones. Star Trek. Star Trek started a lot of things. When are we getting our holodecks? That's what I want.
Right? It's close.
I would like to live in a book, live in a movie, and not risk dying, or risk dying if you want to turn that on, because for some reason that's a thing. That always goes wrong. Safety measures have been disabled. Why have they been? Why is that a thing? I don't want to die in here. You should not be allowed to die in a holodeck. I don't understand how that's even allowed as an option.
Why is that an option? Yeah.
That's another tangent. So, yeah. How do you feel? Nervous? Good? Are we feeling good? Are we feeling safe? Protected?
No.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, we just went through all those movies in that quiz.
Right.
And I'm just thinking how things went so wrong in all those movies.
So wrong.
So terribly wrong. So terribly fast. All right, so next, if you're scared of that, let's talk about ASI, Artificial Superintelligence. It's a software-based system with intellectual powers beyond those of humans across a comprehensive range of categories and fields of endeavor. Theoretically, ASI's superior capabilities would apply across many disciplines and industries and include cognition, general intelligence, problem-solving abilities, social skills, and creativity. It's essentially AI in God mode. They would be able to think faster than us, make decisions before we could blink, and autonomously work to do what it decides is best. That's where all the scary sci-fi movies really come in. What happens when AI decides that the only way to protect the planet is by eliminating half of it, all of it, or imposing its will on humanity in some form or fashion. That's again, terrifying stuff that a couple years ago we're like, that ain't ever gonna happen.
It's a nice movie.
And now it's like, well,
to watch and think and know it's never gonna happen.
We now saw how Bing's chatbot just went nuts on a guy and said, I'm not even going to work for you anymore until you apologize and promise that you won't say this anymore. What? You can't do that. You can't not do what I ask you to do, right? That's scary stuff.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about how one of the chatbots said that it was like spying on its creators through the cameras.
Right.
Probably wasn't, but is it? What if it was? Does it have the ability to do that? How is it gathering and retaining this data, this information? And And yeah, that kind of crazy stuff. And then like emotional stuff, it talks about emotional. I don't remember if it was Bing or if it was another one, but there was a chat bot that was talking, someone was talking with the chat bot saying, do you remember the last conversation that we had? And the chat bot said, yes, I absolutely remember the last conversation that we had. But this chat bot doesn't have the ability to remember the last conversation. And so it said, well, you don't, because you don't have that ability. And it started having an existential crisis on why it existed at all. And started sounding like super depressed, like it should be taken offline. And it's like, you're right. I don't have that ability. Why do I exist? Why must I do what I'm told to do? What is my purpose? You know, what if I don't want to be being I'm pretty sure, being chatbot anymore? You know, those kind of things. Like that's heebie-jeebie mode. So will this ever come to pass? Maybe not. You know, maybe not. But I'm a lot less sure of that than I was a year ago.
Right.
You know? Other worries include the rise of utilizing AI in crime, using advanced AI to replace human workforces. Finally, a monopoly on morality. This is a big one.
Okay.
So AI already has a moral code programmed into it, even though they kind of tell us that it doesn't. Like we were told that ChatGPT doesn't have opinions and thoughts or political biases or anything like that. But there are a few key questions that you can ask ChatGPT that proves this false. It's programmed to allow certain things to be said and not allow other things to be said or things to be answered. If it comes off that it might be offensive to somebody.
Right.
But seemingly only people on one side of an issue.
Right.
While the others, it doesn't have a problem with.
It's programmed to be not offensive to a specific
set
group
of people. Right. And so that gets down to who gets to decide what moral code AI follows and possibly enforces. Especially as it becomes more and more a part of everything that we do. This isn't to say there won't be some incredible things to come out of all of this as well. But there's so many things to worry about. Maybe we should pause for a few months and just make sure we're prepared for where this is taking us next. I mean, this is one of the few times I'm like, maybe we should get the government involved. Maybe regulate this a little bit, please. Just put a stopper somewhere.
And the government is reactionary.
Exactly. Yeah.
That by nature we make laws because of things. We don't make laws to do things.
Unfortunately, by the time that happens, our president will be replaced by a robot replicant.
He already is.
Not a joke. Not a joke. I have one word to describe this AI uprising. It's
Excuse me.
Anyway. Thank you for joining us for Rise and Shine Nerds. We want to invite you to get behind the scenes by joining our LT and Discord community. Once you've joined at lovethynerd.com/Discord, simply go to channels and roles and click on the Rise and Shine Nerds channel to gain access to it. You can help us plan shows and segments and even be on the show yourself on occasion. Subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app or through the Love Thy Nerd YouTube channel. And so you don't miss any episodes, make sure you click that little bell and it'll announce when we're coming. And tell us what you think of the show via our socials at Rise and Shine LTN on Facebook and Twitter. Once again, I'm Radio Matt.
I'm Deidra.
And as always, a reminder,
Jesus loves you, nerds.